My name is Shaun, and I've actually been on the show before. I told a story about when I experienced some paranormal type situations in my childhood homes. The experiences had dwindled off for most of my early adulthood until around 2020. July of 2020, I lost my mother. Shortly after the COVID pandemic had started to peak, my mother took a turn for the worst and passed away unexpectedly. Shortly after that, I found out that I was pregnant. This was not something that me or my boyfriend had planned. It was very unexpected, and I kind of took it as a gift kind of from my mom, because we had been talking before she passed away about how excited she was at the idea of becoming a grandma. And I told her, I don't even know if I can have kids, so we'll see what happens. And then shortly after she passed away, I found out I was pregnant. We were in a one-bedroom apartment at this point, and we decided that it was time to try to find ourselves an actual house, a space where we would be able to grow as a family. And I started house shopping. We were looking for houses for months, but then one came on the market that happened to be on the same street that my childhood home that I had originally experienced a lot of the paranormal activities was on. I decided to go take a look around. There wasn't anything particularly special about it, yet there was something that drew me to it. I can't explain what it was, but there was just an energy in the house that pulled me to decide to try to convince my husband that this is the house that we need to buy. He was not a fan, but when it came down to it, everything seemed good about it. There wasn't like a whole lot that had to be done to the house before we moved in, so we decided to put down our offer, and we got the house. December of 2021, we moved into the home, and that first night, things got weird. I actually can't recall entirely what happened that night. It happened to me, and I was in a state that I can't really explain. So I'm going to let my husband, Gordon, take over for a moment.
The first night in the house was a hectic one. Unpacked everything as we could, and we decided, let's just go to sleep. We're all exhausted. Let's just go to sleep and relax. And we're laying there. We finally pass out. Felt like minutes. Early morning comes, and I feel this jolt on my chest, like someone hit me. I look over to my right. My girlfriend at the time is right next to me. She looks funny. Her eyes are open, but she's not really saying anything. She's kind of just like looking at me. And I'm like, are you okay? And she's not responding. It was strange for like a second or two, and I was just like trying to, nudge her and stuff. And all of a sudden she just starts speaking in like tongues almost. Saying different names I didn't recognize. She was like speaking multiple languages all at once. It was a very strange situation. And I'm thinking, okay, maybe she's having like a stroke or something. I wasn't even sure. So I'm like, okay, so try to wake her up or something. So I'm just trying to wake her up, and she's just flapping her arms around and yelling and trying to get my attention, even though I'm literally staring at her. It felt like she was almost possessed or something. Like she was like being taken over by something. This is early in the morning too. Sun's barely coming up. So I'm trying to hold her up. I physically had to hold her up with my shoulder in the bed to try to keep her up without laying down. Trying to shove apple juice into her throat, and then finally, as I get probably a cup and a half down her throat, she's finally kind of saying English words. The weirdest part is she had no recollection of anything. We had full different language conversations trying to decipher what we were trying to say to each other, but she was just only halfway there, and her eyes were just glazed over. One of the weirdest situations that I've ever experienced in my life.
The weirdest part about it was that the only thing that I can recall was feeling like I was freezing. And I was trying to tell Gordon, I'm so cold. Gordon, I'm so cold. But the words wouldn't come out. And that's all I remember from that experience. I finally kind of came to, and he told me that that had all happened. I thought I was just having like a bad dream. And then from there, I just proceeded to experience other weird events. One in particular that still sits very heavy with me was we had probably been in the house 3 or 4 months at this point. I had moved my son into his room. He was around 8 or 9 months old. And that was really hard for me because when we were in the apartment, we had one of those side-sitting cribs, and he was right there next to me. And the doctor was like, well, you need to get him in his own room, in his own crib. And just being in this new environment, it was difficult for me. So there were a lot of nights where I would wake up very easily from like the slightest noise, the slightest creak in the floor, anything like that. And my husband is the complete opposite. He could sleep through an explosion. One night around the summertime, we were sleeping and I was woken up very abruptly by a large banging sound, like something had fallen downstairs. I didn't get freaked out too much at first. I assumed maybe one of my pets knocked something down. We have a couple of cats and had a dog at the time. But then I heard footsteps coming up the stairs. They didn't sound like paws or anything, like they were like loud boots stomping on the creaky wood of my stairs. I'm sitting up in bed at this point. I'm trying to wake up Gordon. He's not reacting. And I'm like panicking because I'm thinking somebody broke into my house. Since we're in an older house, there's about an inch or so of space between the floor and our door. So you can see people's feet and things. I saw a pair of feet, boots, settle in front of the door. And I am fully panicked at this point. I can't get my husband to wake up. He's snoring, having a great time. And I'm like, I'm about to die. And all of a sudden, as things seem to quiet down, my door starts to aggressively shake and shake like somebody's trying to get in, but they can't figure out how to turn the knob. And the door is slamming and slamming and slamming. And finally, I'm like, Gordon! He wakes up and it stops. I'm crying at this point. I am in tears, begging him to do something, that someone is in the house, someone's gonna hurt us, someone's gonna hurt our baby. So he gets up in a stupor, goes and opens the door, and there's nobody there. He goes and checks downstairs. Nothing has fallen. Nothing's out of place. To this day, that still sits with me, because there are still times where I will wake up in the middle of the night and I can hear the door jiggling. Not as violent as that first time, but like somebody's trying to figure out how to get into my room. At first, when some of the footsteps started, I put it in my head that maybe it was my mother keeping an eye on us. She was always like a huge believer in the paranormal. She always believed that the ghosts or entity that we were dealing with in my childhood homes were my grandmother. She always kind of put it in my head that the people that we care about most stay with us for a while after they're gone. But the way that it behaved in that moment, it didn't feel like something safe. It didn't feel like something that was there for a good reason. As time went on, it seems that whatever this thing is that we're dealing with has taken a liking to my son. Alec, my son, turned 1. He was just learning how to talk, and he would just like giggle and kind of like whisper to himself in bed. We didn't think too much of it at first, until one particular night. We have this video baby monitor that when a sound goes off, it'll turn the video on so that you can see into the room. We had it at the time face down, right, so that we could see him in his crib. This particular time, the monitor turned on and I just heard like a grumbling. I couldn't figure out what it was. At first I thought maybe it picked up like the air conditioner or something in his room, but it was kind of like a brah, brah, brah kind of sound. So I went to look at the monitor and I see my son just sitting up in his crib talking to the wall. He's giggling and whispering and having a babbly conversation with something in the wall. And at this point, he wasn't old enough to really be talking, so I couldn't ask him about it. But this was something that continued to happen for the last 2 years, where the monitor would pop on and he's sitting up, sometimes asleep, sometimes not, talking to someone or something. One particular night when he was around 2.5, he was in a twin bed that we have in a frame that's like on the ground because we didn't want him to fall out of bed. And this night, the same kind of thing happened where the monitor turned on. There was a weird, scratchy, grumbly sound. And when I went to check, Alec, my son, was sitting up in the middle of the bed, just staring straight ahead. And I'm looking at him, and I see the room is dark, and yet there was just in the corner of his room behind his bed, there's just this giant black figure. And I'm thinking I'm seeing things at this point, and I'm getting ready to go up there. I put one foot on the step, and my son looks up at the camera. He goes, "Mommy?" In that moment, the darkness disappeared. And he just laid back down and went to sleep. I was just frozen on the stairs, not sure if I actually saw what I saw. It's unsettling because I don't know if whatever this thing is friendly, if it's got a motive, or why it seems to suddenly be attracted to my son. My son's obsessed with ghosts. I'm not sure where he even got the knowledge of ghosts. He asks my husband to play ghosts with him every night. He wants him to put like a sheet over him and go, ooh, and like pretend to be a ghost. No idea where he even learned that word. Just this morning, I went in to get him to go to daycare. And he gets up and he goes, "Mommy, guess what? My friend did exercises with me after Daddy left." And I was like, "Who's your friend?" And he just goes, "I don't know." Part of me wants to think that maybe it is my mom watching over him and coming to see him. But the way that whatever this is treated me and treated my husband, it's hard to be confident in something like that. There was a time recently, Alec was in the living room playing. We were cleaning up the kitchen. I had just let the dogs out the back door. I turned my back to where we have like their water bowl. And when I turned back, there was a dead mouse lying next to the water bowl. And I come up to it and it's a mouse. And so I'm freaking out. I get my husband to come and look at it. And he's like, "This is stiff. This has been dead for a while." It looked like something had spit it up. But my dogs were outside. The only ones that could have possibly like had a mouth big enough to transport this thing were not in the house. I had my husband throw it out. I go to open the back door to let the dogs back in, and there's another one in the exact same position, in the exact same state, right on the back step of my house. We clean that one up. The next day, there's another one in the exact same spot. I can't explain that either. One time I was trying to get him out the door, And it got to the point where he was getting very, very upset. And I'm like, dude, we've got to go. We've got to go. You have a doctor's appointment. Like, we can't be late. And he got very upset. And he looked at me and he went, Mommy, no. And as he yelled no, my bathroom door slammed shut. I've heard a lot in the past about how like ghosts will react to emotions of the people in the space that they are residing in. So I can't help but wonder if that was the ghost taking his side to try to get me to leave him alone. But a lot of the times when there are arguments happening in the house or my son is throwing a fit, that door will slam. I don't know how to explain it. In my previous story, I had talked about the house that I lived in that's on the same street, and at that time when my mom and my aunt were fighting, the lights all shut off and things were slamming, and so part of me feels like it could be the same thing, where it seems like whatever it is reacts when there's a lot of negativity going on in the house or negative emotions. It doesn't feel the same, if that makes sense. This whole street is just weird. There's been a lot of rumors between neighbors about seeing figures just standing across the street looking into windows. Whatever we're all seeing don't seem to be aggressive or threatening, but they're there, watching. So I don't know if I made a mistake moving back here, moving back into this space where I had once dealt with this stuff before. But that's a genuine fear of mine and a genuine fear that I have now accidentally passed whatever this is from me to my son.